At 57, Céline Dion finally opens her heart about René Angélil, the man who not only discovered her but devoted his life to shaping hers. He wasn't just her husband, he was her mentor, her protector, and the first person who believed she could conquer the world with her voice. At 12, when no one else saw her potential, René mortgaged his own home to finance her career. That sacrifice turned a little girl from a poor Canadian family into one of the greatest singers of her generation. Together, they built more than just a music empire, they built a love story admired across the globe. But behind the success were hidden struggles, sickness, grief, and the constant weight of sacrifice. For over 30 years, René stood beside her until cancer tore him away in 2016. His death left Celine devastated, and in the days that followed, her pain only grew heavier when her brother also passed away. Within a week, she felt her entire world crumble. Her grief was soon joined by a cruel twist of fate, a rare neurological illness that caused her muscles to spasm uncontrollably and shook the very voice that had carried her dreams. To fans, she tried to appear strong, always smiling in public, but behind closed doors there were endless nights of tears and loneliness. Many whispered that her career was over, that she was only a shadow of her golden years. At times, she collapsed under seizures, fully aware of the voices around her declaring that her best days were gone. As if illness and loss weren't enough, there came betrayal. Singers she once trusted, colleagues she once admired, even friends she had believed in, some mocked her, others turned her struggles into their entertainment. The sting of their cruelty cut deeper than critics' words ever could. She stayed silent, channeling her pain into music, but silence only buried so much. Now, after everything she has endured, Celine reveals the names of 5 people whose actions left her scarred forever. These were not strangers, they were voices she once celebrated, artists she once clinked glasses with, and in some cases, people she considered close. Their betrayals ranged from dismissive remarks to public humiliation. One even told her she had the body but no soul in her voice. And perhaps most painful of all were those who had promised loyalty but abandoned her when she needed them most. In the late 90s, as her career soared with the global success of My Heart Will Go On, rivalry surfaced with another powerhouse singer. To the world it looked like two divas sharing the spotlight, but behind the scenes, it was a battle for dominance. Comments were made dismissing her success as nothing more than the popularity of Titanic. Fans booed her at award shows, and tour opportunities slipped away, leaving her humiliated. It wasn't envy of another's talent that hurt her, it was the feeling of being treated not as an equal, but as someone to be erased. Another deep wound came from a man she once shared magical harmonies with on stage. Their duet became an anthem of love, and she believed their connection went beyond music. But in front of an entire room of industry elites, she discovered he had betrayed her, openly kissing another singer as if she were invisible. When she caught his eye, instead of apologizing, he mocked her with a cruel smirk that turned the crowd against her. Her pain became everyone's entertainment. She tried to maintain her dignity, but anger overcame her, and she lashed out in public. Headlines the next day turned her heartbreak into a scandal. Confronting him later only brought colder words, she was nothing more than a memory to him. The sting of betrayal struck again when she was pushed aside for one of the most coveted songs of the decade. She had been told it was hers, she had even recorded a demo, but at the last moment, the track was handed to another singer whose version became one of the greatest hits in history. She was left to watch as critics praised that performance while dismissing hers as robotic. A year later, she stood beside that same singer on stage, hoping for unity, only to be drowned out in front of millions. The headlines declared her devoured, the applause belonged only to the other voice, and she walked away carrying humiliation that no one else could see. For Celine, the pain didn't stop with rivals. One of her idols, a man whose voice had shaped her childhood dreams, turned out to be another cruel lesson. When she finally met him and was offered the chance to record a duet, she thought her destiny had come full circle. But in a private room, she discovered that the opportunity wasn't about music at all. Her idol reduced her dream to a transaction she could never accept. She walked away in tears, and by the next day the duet was gone, handed to someone else. The press painted her as arrogant, but she knew the truth, and carried that scar in silence. Perhaps the most painful betrayal of all came not from an idol or a rival, but from someone she once considered a sister. When they first recorded a duet together, the bond felt genuine. Celine believed she had found a lifelong friend in her. But on stage, during what should have been a shared performance, she was pushed aside, her part stolen, her voice reduced to background while the spotlight was claimed entirely by the other. When she sought an explanation, she was told coldly that there could only be one queen. That moment shattered Celine's illusion of loyalty and friendship. The critics praised her partner while mocking her as little more than a backup singer. Later encounters only deepened the wound, with cruel reminders that there was no space for two divas on the same throne. For Celine, it was the final cut, proof that even friendship in the world of fame could turn into betrayal. And yet, despite the heartbreak, Celine never allowed these betrayals to define her. The stage that once felt like a battlefield became her place of healing. Every note she sang carried the weight of her struggles, but also the strength of her survival. She chose not to answer cruelty with bitterness, but with resilience that inspired millions. Her illness may have weakened her body, but it could not silence her spirit. She continued to sing when she could, even if her voice trembled, because she knew music was bigger than fame. It was her way of keeping René's love alive, her way of showing her children that pain can be transformed into power. Through loss, betrayal, and illness, Céline Dion emerged as more than a superstar. She became a symbol of perseverance. Her story reminds us that even the brightest lights face storms, but true strength is revealed in the way one continues to shine despite them.